A healthier, happier life begins here. Welcome to Mercy Moments, a podcast by Mercy Health in association with True Chat.
Ohio, believe it or not, is home to well over 400 caves and caverns. They come in all different shapes, sizes, and even colors. A few of them, like the Ohio Caverns, are also quite large. Sadly, most of them are not open to the public. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host for Mercy Moments, T. Allen Sealer, coming to you from Champaign County here at True Chat Studios in Urbana, Ohio. Our guest today is JD Harshfield. Mr. Harshfield has been with Ohio Caverns since 2010, worked as a tour guide until 2015, and is now a part of the company's leadership structure. JD, welcome. So how did you get involved with Ohio Caverns?
Well, I started when I was in high school. I just applied for a tour guide position and got the job. I always was interested in rocks and minerals and geology and things like that. So it worked out really well. And I grew up very close to the cavern itself. So
did you really?
I sure did. Yep. Nice commute to work.
Is that how you first found out about it growing up?
Yeah. My family went there quite often growing up, and family reunions and just general cave visits. Yeah, it was always something we did growing up.
So what are some of your responsibilities there?
I'm part of the management, so we kind of do a little bit of everything. Welcoming guests is kind of the big part of it. You know, we all want everybody to feel welcome and encouraged to be here. Selling the tickets, and then running the tours, getting tours started, departing them all throughout the day. It's just kind of a little bit of everything across the board. So
what do you like most about your job?
The best part of it, I think, is other than being in the cavern. The cavern itself is exquisite. It's beautiful, and there's always new things to look at. But the cool thing about it is that when people come to visit, they're always excited. They're always generally happy to be there. So you're not dealing with the angry, upset customers
right?
Very often at all. So I think that's a big plus.
So what would you say is the most challenging part of the job?
Really, there's not a whole lot of challenges. I'm not saying it's an easy job, because it does have its days, but it's a very, very, very easy to get along with, if that makes sense.
First of all, I have to ask, what exactly is the difference between a cave and a cavern?
Sure, yeah. Caves, generally, when you think of caves, that's what you think of animals living in or people taking shelter in, So the technical difference, caves have the natural openings, things that, an entrance that people can go in and out of freely. Caverns are completely sealed to the surface, so there's no natural opening to it.
I see.
So we are, in that theory, a cavern.
So who actually discovered what is now referred to as Ohio Caverns?
It was discovered in 1897. It was just a 17-year-old farmhand. His name was Robert Knopfsinger. He had noticed a sinkhole developing over time. It wasn't quite a sinkhole yet. It just kept sinking down lower and lower, and eventually they had noticed water sunk down into the ground very rapidly overnight. And he dug into it and found the first entrance.
So who were the original owners?
It was owned by the Reams family. William Reams owned the property, and he was just a small-time farmer that happened to have the cavern entrance on his land.
And almost immediately they opened it up for tours, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It was discovered August 17th of 1897. And then they had it open 10 days later.
Wow.
Literally 10 days later, they opened it, and people would just come. There was no guided tours. It was just, you came and gave some pocket change. They'd rent you an oil lantern and lower you in and say, have fun.
The reason why I asked that question about cave versus cavern earlier is the original name of Ohio Caverns was Mount Tabor Cave Tours.
Mm-hmm. That is correct, yep.
And then when Mr. Reams sold the property to the Smiths, what did they do to change the site?
Well, what they did, they purchased the land across the road and then determined that the majority of the cavern was on that side. So they in turn purchased the other part from William Reams. What they did at that point, this was 1922. What they did at this point was they surveyed the cavern. They determined the best way to dig it out because they wanted to be able to do walking tours.
I see.
And so they started digging out. They dug for about 3.5 years, buckets, shovels, hauling all the dirt and mud out. And then they dug about 3.5 miles of passageways when it was all said and done, or about 1.5 miles of passageways when it was all said and done.
So today, from what I understand, Ohio Caverns is actually the largest accessible cave system in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, it is the largest known cavern in the state. So it's not that there's anything that's inaccessible necessarily in the state. Ohio Caverns is the largest known cavern in the state.
And there is still some water and things like that in there, though, right? Even after they excavated it?
Yeah, there's a couple areas where there's water that pools up in there. It's no flowing water. There's no rivers or lakes or anything like that. We have a couple pools here and there. But yeah, there is a couple areas.
Are there lower levels that are like inaccessible because of water?
They're totally inaccessible, but it's more or less theory. There's nothing we've never been to those levels or anything like that. It's it would be the levels where you would draw your well from at home.
I see. I see. Yep. So do you think that there actually is other parts that eventually could be opened up for tours?
Probably not. There is more cavern total. In fact, there are 3.5 miles of passageways. We dug that 1.5 miles in the 1920s.
I see.
But other than that, there's no real other areas that plan on being opened or excavated.
Now, this area is a part of what is referred to as the Bell Fountain Outlier, correct?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So what exactly is that?
The Bell Fountain Outlier is a geological remnant that's left over from erosion. So erosion would, in fact, in this point, was done by glaciers.
I see.
Glaciers came through. They wiped out a lot of the rock that was in the area. This little chunk that is now called the Bell Fountain Outlier was actually lower than the rest of it.
I see.
So when the glaciers came through, they wiped out the rest of it. That other piece eventually just worked its way up from natural erosion and became what it is now, the high point of Bell Fountain in Ohio.
So actually these started out as kind of like aquifers storing water, and then slowly but surely the water eroded into these caverns, correct? Yeah.
Underground rivers and aquifers, yep. And the water would start carving their way and finding cracks and crevices and making passageways larger and larger.
And this is a part of a kind of a cave system spread out through that area of Ohio, correct?
Yeah, there are caves all over. Ohio Caverns is totally secluded in its own, so It does not connect to anything else.
I see.
But there are caves and caverns all through the Bell Fountain Outlier. There are caverns that are open to the public north of us as well. But yeah, there are many other caves.
Well, that pretty much does it for the first segment. In the second segment, I would like to discuss the actual features of the site, the different tours available, and ways that the public can get engaged. We'd like to take this time to remind our listeners that all of True Chat's podcasts help pursue a common goal: to educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations and information. To learn more about Mercy Moments, listen to the recap at the end of the program. And to search for previous episodes or find ways to listen, please visit us at mercymoments.org. Welcome back. Our topic today has been about the Ohio Caverns, and our speaker has been JD Harshfield. JD, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, you have both an historical and a natural wonder tour, correct?
Yeah, 2 different tours through the cavern. Those are open in the summertime. The historic focuses primarily on the history and discovery of Ohio Caverns. So you actually enter the cavern where Robert Knopfsinger entered it in 1897.
Wow. So the historic tour is a part of the original tour, correct? In other words, that was part of the originally excavated area, in other words?
Yeah, it is the original section that expands from Discovery Point up until a portion of the cavern where they could not go any farther due to high levels of mud.
And what's the difference between that and the other tour?
The other tour is the Natural Wonder Tour. So if you look at a map of our cavern, the cavern itself is laid out kind of like a slanted H, like a letter H.
Yeah.
The one branch of it is considered the historic tour. There's a little tiny middle section that connects the two.
Yeah.
And the other side over there is the Natural Wonder.
I see.
That little tiny middle section was packed full of mud, so people really couldn't get there. So it protected the whole other half of the cavern. And so that other half of the cavern is where a lot of the crystal formations are in the big open rooms with all the color.
And did that get discovered when the natural tour was taking place, or did that get discovered after the fact?
It was discovered when the digging was being done.
I see.
So 1922, when it was purchased, the digging was being done. That is when they discovered the whole Natural Wonder side to the cavern.
And you guys kind of trade up your tours throughout the year, correct?
Yeah. In the summer, we have those 2 plus a combination. You can do both. But then the winter time, this time of the year, we have what's just called the Winter Tour, and it's the old reliable classic tour. It does a little bit of both of those summer tours.
How does that affect pricing?
It really doesn't. Our pricing is the same if you do one tour or the other in the summertime. Or the wintertime, it's the same for any of those tours. We do offer the discounted package if you do both in the summertime, the historic and the natural wonder, just kind of a discounted rate to do and experience both sides.
And you kind of touched on the different attractions on the natural wonder side of the tour. What attractions are there in the cave system? I know on your website it mentions things like the Crystal Sea, the Natural Bridge, Fantasyland, things like that. Can you go through some of those different features that are in the caverns?
Yeah. I guess we'll just start there at the top. The Crystal Sea there, it's a little retention pool that holds up a lot of the water that flows through that area. It doesn't necessarily flow or anything. It just literally pools up there and eventually trickles out the side.
Interesting.
So that's very neat. Then as that tour progresses on, this is all on the Natural Wonder Tour. As that Natural Wonder Tour progresses on, we go into the four main rooms, which gets into Fantasyland, the Big Room, the Palace of the Gods, and the Jewel Room. They are all very unique rooms, very large with a lot of formation. We are known as America's most colorful cavern, and a lot of that color is found in these four rooms.
So what's the future hold for Ohio Caverns?
The cool thing about operating a cavern is it's pretty straightforward. I mean, they're guided cavern tours. That is never anything that's going to change. We guided tours all day, every day. We like keeping up with the times at Ohio Caverns. We do a lot to keep things modern, to keep things looking fresh. And so it's just a matter of literally just keeping up with the times and rolling with the punches.
So in regards to energy, you guys are making a push to be completely green, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We actually make all of our own energy on site. We have a large solar array that makes any and all energy that we need. It produces about just over 100% of the energy we use annually.
Wow.
And so we are considered to be a net zero facility. So we have that. We have electric car chargers on site, which in turn are also solar powered, if you think about it that way. So solar powered car chargers, which is pretty neat. And then of course, just the standard amenities, the touchless dispensers, and we have just hand dryers and, special features in the bathrooms that keep things waterless and you make things really try to be as green as possible.
And you guys only have 2 entrances to the cave system?
There are 2 entrances and 2 exits, so they are all totally separate. Historic Tour has its own entrance and exit. The Natural Wonder has its own entrance and exit.
And are they all covered? Because you mentioned earlier that this wasn't by nature open. In other words, it wasn't like a cave where it was just open, that you guys had to make those openings, correct?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, that first entrance they dug into, and then they went from there. So they dug until they couldn't dig anymore, and then they dug straight up.
Interesting.
And so they made the 4 entrances that way.
So what kind of attendance numbers do you guys get every year?
We see right about 50 to 60,000 people a year on average. So it keeps us busy. The bulk of that is between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Is it?
That's when we see most of our people.
So besides the cave tours, what other things do you have on site? I know you guys have a gift shop, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. We have a gift shop. It is, the cavern and the gift shop, everything on site is open 363 days a year.
Is it?
We're only closed Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day. So we take strides to keep everything open and available during those times. One of the big things other than the cavern tour is our gem mining.
Yeah.
We have a large...
That's interesting.
It is. It's really neat. It's a large outdoor sluice. You purchase bags from the gift shop, take it out and sift out the sand and dirt. And then obviously in the wintertime, you can't do that outside. So we actually have one we bring indoors and we can do it all year in the gift shop.
So for those that don't already know, where exactly are you guys located?
Ohio Caverns is on the east side of State Route 245. So it's about 4 miles east of West Liberty, north side of Champaign County.
You guys also have a website, correct?
Yep, just ohiocaverns.com.
So walk us through some of the features of the website.
Yeah, on the website, there's all kinds of different things. You can go and you can see photos of the cavern and the park facility, all that kind of stuff. There, you can purchase tickets online as well. There's a wide range of things. There's a Q&A area. There's if your questions aren't answered in the frequently asked questions section, you can send us a question directly from the website too. So
do most people buy their tickets online, or do they wait till they get to the site?
It's a little of both. It's a good mix. It just kind of depends on the season. We see more online tickets in the summer than anything.
Is there any other way to get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We are on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. And then, of course, we have email, phone number. We're happy to answer any and all questions to anyone that reaches out.
So what is your phone number?
937-465-4017.
That pretty much does it for the program today. A quick reminder, our goal here at Mercy Moments is to provide local resources, awareness, and involvement. Therefore, if you have any comments related to past episodes or suggestions for future episodes, please contact us at taceyler@mercy.com. That's capital TACEYLER@mercy.com. Again, I'd like to thank my guest today, JD Harshfield, for being here. You can listen to Mercy Moments on TrueChat via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere else fine podcasts are found. For Mercy Moments, Mercy Health Urbana Hospital, and TrueChat, I'm your host, T. Allen Sealer.
And I'm JD Harshfield.
Thanks for listening today. Stay healthy, Ohio.